So where did we leave off? Earthquake. Thanks, Jane. Jane. I know, Jane. It's hard being Jane. Earthquake. We had our bellies pressed to the ground together. We were there with my dad, bless him, not willing to admit he didn't know the number of feet of the hole, nor would he lie to me. And he said, "It's a real deep one." And child Sam leaned over as an image to guide us on our task together these next 2 years. Interim ministry is a specific kind of task. We were there at my dinner table with my nibblings, and my nibblings had never experienced that earthquake before, and the task was to show them they need not run away from what was changing, nor would they need to act like it wasn't happening. But the task was for each of us to do a downward move, to get closer, to listen more closely to what was changing. Now, we also mentioned that churches are revelation factories, and not just in the sense that we understand more and more about the divine when we gather, but in the sense that we reveal ourselves to each other when we are here. That when we walk in through these doors together, when we enter religious community, that we are risking revealing ourselves in every greeting, in every email, and in every committee meeting. Now, when we reveal ourselves, what do we reveal? We reveal every way we've ever been hurt. And we reveal every way we've learned to ever avoid being hurt again. And we learn and reveal every way that we've learned to try to act like hurt isn't happening. And we show it to each other. So we actually gather in religious community to do a countercultural task, which is to unplug from a world that says you're not supposed to talk about the thing that's happening, and we practice gathering together to talk about the thing that is happening right before us. We practice a new way of being when we come together, a spiritual muscle that does not get practiced in the dominant culture, but we choose to come together to practice here because it's worth doing, to be in relationship with one another. Now, if I'm not going to push you away, and if I'm not going to fight you, my task is to learn how to be unguarded before you. Can I be undefended enough so that when I am with you, the thing that needs to emerge from the crack in the earth has a space to do so? Can I be undefended? Can I be unguarded enough that we, with bellies to the ground, can let emerge what needs to emerge and wouldn't emerge if we were all busy running, acting like it didn't happen, or controlling the outcome? Now, for 2 years, the next 2 years together, we are specifically focused on this moment as a holy moment. I can't tell if you feel holy about it. Do you feel holy about it? Mixed bag. I love that. Chuck's honest in the front. It's this front row section right here. It's like the participatory section. Yeah. Now Chuck's getting hugs, yeah. Yes. Do you feel holy about it? It's mixed. Let's not be foolish. In between time is hard time. It's hard work time. What we're doing collectively and individually here together for the next 2 years is to say this: what's here now? What do we need to let die? What's trying to be born? Now, if any of you are redecorators, do we have any decorators in them? No? Great. Everyone's saving a lot of money on their homes. Imagine this, though, when you are reimagining a space that you live in, so the space that has become your continual routine being, and suddenly over 10 years, it was just the way you've always done it. This is always the way I've built it. And then something enters the space, a gift of some sort, an art of some sort. You place it on your table, and then suddenly, it just doesn't match everything else around here. I think I'm gonna have to repaint. Is this familiar? Yeah, it's familiar. So I think I have to repaint. So I start to repaint, and then I realize, oh, why did I do that? Why did I put Jesus there? Do you remember why you did that? No? Okay. Right. So you start to look at it, and you remember the choice you made 10 years ago when you were a very different person. That you had built an entire room out of the different moments in your life. You had built an entire way of being out of the different moments, and then suddenly it was so normal. You couldn't imagine it any other way until suddenly the one thing came on your desk, and the whole thing had to change. Now, in a way, that's what we're going to do over these next 2 years. It's as if we've been living in a space together. And in a long time, we haven't asked ourselves, why did we put that there? Why have I always related to you that way? Why is it that we do what we said we do? And why is it that we haven't changed it? If a stranger were to walk in, would they notice everything that has become too normal to us? Now, to be willing to change that way is actually a sign of respect and dignity for one another. Because what it says is, you can change, and we can still belong here together. Now, when we change, when you change, when we think about the things we want to do differently, there's some very specific and practical tasks we have to do together. So in the work of interim ministry, they say there's 5 things a congregation needs to do before they call their next minister. Are you ready? Okay. 1, to know where you've come from, your heritage and your history. But included in that is to know the unhealed things that have happened along the way that make it difficult to go where you need to go. The grief and conflict we haven't talked about yet. 2, leadership. To acknowledge the people who have been carrying and holding, and to ask ourselves, who have we not seen fully for their gifts that we might invite them into new ways of being? And who have we overtapped? Who have we overtapped whose time it is to receive the gifts of our congregation? Connections. One task is to learn who you belong to that is bigger than you yourself. So who do we belong to in Tucson, but also to a Unitarian Universalist movement that is bigger than ourselves and older than the present moment? To your mission, do we know why we exist? Does it matter that we exist? How do we know that it matters? Then, to your future, who are you becoming? Who is emerging out of the crack in the earth that we cannot force or control or hide away from, but that we need to be with bellies to the ground, welcoming and in reception of? To say, I don't know who we are becoming until we know who we are becoming. I don't know until we know. Do you hear that? I can't know it alone. I know it in relationship with you? Who are we becoming? Now, the practical ways we do that is many. Some of you know that there are listening circles that are happening in some of our community's homes. Your board will be doing a retreat to explore who it is we need to become, who have we been. Program teams are looking at each other and asking themselves, do I trust you? How do I know I trust you? And our team and our practice associates are working each Sunday to bring a practice to you to help us bring this into our own lives. It's a lot of work. Do you hear that? You excited? Bill Casey? Yeah, Bill's excited. But what I want to specify is that it's not the kind of work where you're like, go get busy. Do you hear that? The work move that we have to do together is not the work move of, let's work really, really, really hard at it. Let's be very, very, very productive. And if we try really, really, really hard, the thing that's in the crack in the earth that Sam has been talking about since day one will come, and we can welcome it then, right? The move is not to be overproductive. The move in this kind of work is to be present. The work is the work of our presence to one another. Now, because we are stepping back in one way, we're stepping into a doorway to see ourselves and our space in two different ways. First is to step back, like that moment in the redecoration here with Jesus. To step back together says we will look at each other and our systems holistically. So we'll begin to see ourselves and the work we do as part of a whole. That is not just the task of a congregation in interim work. That is our spiritual task as ecological members of this world. To practice the art of continually stepping away from what's right here to say, how does this fit into the whole? How is this part of the web? That is one of the tasks we do when we step back. The other part about a doorway, though, is that you are also stepping in. You are not just stepping back to see something holistically. We are stepping in to a different period of time for the congregation. Now, this different period of time means it wasn't what it was before, but we're not yet where we're going. It is hard to stay right there when you are no longer where you were, but you can't force where you think you gotta go because you don't know until we know in the present moment. So we step back and we step in. Now this is countercultural and hard. And to level with you, I'll tell you why I know it's so hard. It's because I'm bad at it. So one thing that I've experienced in my work as a minister is I used to work as a spiritual provider in nonprofits. So in one nonprofit that I used to work in, it was a re-entry nonprofit. So people were coming out of jails and prisons in Los Angeles, entering this community, and beginning to look for work and community services, things to begin their life again. Now my job was to be caring. And I was gonna be really, really, really good at being caring. So I would show up at work each morning, and I'd have my clipboard available, and I would chase down the people who needed my love, okay? I would come after you for some spiritual care. You didn't know you needed it yet? I know you need it. I know you need it. I'm coming for you. And I would go through the hallways, bless all those people. I would come through those hallways with my little notepad, and I would try to start up deeply spiritual conversations. Now, after chasing people, going into a classroom, they're studying. Going outside, they're working. Going into their office, they're busy. I told a circle of other spiritual caregivers, I think I'm horribly ineffective. And I'm exhausted. I described to them exactly what I was doing, the way that I saw my own behavior. And then they said, well, I have an idea. I was open to it. I think you should do nothing. Nothing? Nothing. I think you should sit somewhere and not move all day. That will be your spiritual practice. It's like, no, you don't get it. I've studied this. I really know this. I'm working on a PhD. I got it. Expert. This is a really complex system. You don't get it. I've been in it for years. And if you knew anything about it, you would know that I really need to approach people and show them what I can offer. I have an outline of a curriculum. I have it all planned out. Exactly. Samantha, they're not busy. You're busy. You're busy. So the next day, I go to my office, and I notice there are a set of chairs very near to the front that they, ironically for the sermon, call the doorway waiting area. And I sat in one of those chairs, and with my butt glued to the seat, refused to move all day. 2 hours in, one person who I had definitely chased down multiple times slowly approaches the chair next to me and sits down. We begin a conversation. Just into the conversation, she says to me, "I've always wanted to talk to you, but you seem so busy." Isn't that true? Yeah, isn't that true? The discipline, it's a spiritual discipline to be in the waiting time. Not only do we together have to step back from this congregation and say, what have we made, and does it allow us to be fully alive? Not only do we have to step in to say, actually, are we really here in the in-between time where we let what happened slowly fade or die or transform, but yet we don't quite know where we're going, but we're here. Into a third discipline of this moment, which is stay there long enough. Stay there long enough. We want to rush this real bad. We do. It's horribly uncomfortable to not know where we're going and yet not have what we had available to say, this is who we are. But to say that these people of faith know how to be in the waiting zone together and to truly see each other is to say we are a spiritual community. That is the holy practice. Now, there's two obvious ways that people have experienced this before. Those of you who have given birth, and those of you who have accompanied people giving birth, know there is no sense busying yourself to look productive. True. There is a holy moment of waiting where we have nothing left to do but to wait in the holy moment together. And it is the only way that what is being born gets the welcome we truly want it to have. It is actually an incredibly active moment we are in to not busy ourselves with making new things and quickly fixing old things, but to step back, step in, and stay with each other and say, what do we want to create so that we know it matters that we gather together? Those of us who have experienced accompanying people who are dying also know this. Those of us who might even be confronting our own death might know this. That we need not run around busying ourselves with the stuff that doesn't matter. When something big and sacred is happening right in front of you, if you are willing to sit and wait. May we be a people here and in our own lives who know when the moment came that it was time to step back, to step in, and to stay, knowing you don't know until we know. May it be so. Amen.